Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me here today as we get to talk about one of my favorite subjects, comic books. My name is Jose. I love comic books. I love talking about them, and I love sharing them with you. Feel free to follow me on social media if you would like. Links are in the description below. I've also posted a link to the Marvel fan set that I have plot synopsis and character bios for this issue. We are continuing our way to John Byrne's run on West Coast Avengers slash Avengers West Coast. It was renamed, and we are looking at number 54. Now, during this time, John Byrne had taken over as writer on the Avengers with Paul Ryan and Tom Palmer, but he was doing writing and penciling on their other titles. So John Byrne was in charge of all things Avengers. Now, this is after he came back from DC Comics Superman run, which he really didn't like doing. Too much editorial stuff happening, kind of getting in their own way. So he goes back to Marvel, and we got an homage cover to Fantastic Four #1, and we get Hank Pym. At this time, he was nobody, meaning he wasn't a superhero. He had retired, and so Hank Pym says, "Torch, help us." And the Wasp here is, "My stings are useless against the mole man's creature, Hank." And the Human Torch says, "Don't worry, Dr. Pym. The Avengers have only begun to fight." And the captain, who was, oh my goodness, John Walker, goes, "All of you, shut up and fight." And Wonder Man says, "The five of you can't do it alone. It's time for Wonder Man to take a hand." And finally, "It'll take more than rubble to keep Iron Man out of action." So basically, pretty cool, very homage to the 60s, and of course, homage to the Fantastic Four #1. So, love it. And so we start out with the Mole Man yelling "attack." Beautiful. John Byrne is a master storyteller, one of the greatest pencilers of artists, period, comic book artists of all time. And so our title is The Troubled Earth. And Paul Ryan, who is his penciler in Avengers, is doing the inking here. Written and penciled by John Byrne, and then Howard Mackie and Tom DeFalco in the editorial. And after all, this is part of the Acts of Vengeance arc that was going on during the summer title, sort of an event where Loki had tricked all the enemies or all the villains to take on different heroes. So we're in Los Angeles here, and suddenly an earthquake, but it's one of the Mole Man's creatures coming through. And I don't know why in the digital versions they can't line these things up. I sometimes don't understand what the point of these things are when you can't even line them up. So anyway, Wonder Man is looking for the UFOs, and suddenly he sees the creature. Beautiful panel, homage to a lot of manga, and I love this, almost like he's breaking mid-air. And Wonder Man is going to go after it, and he wonders if Iron Man has seen it, and there goes Iron Man. And of course, Iron Man was also looking for the UFOs, but time to take the creature. I like this, just very simple, straight ahead flying. And so here we go. Nicely done. John Byrne doesn't skimp on backgrounds very much. Looks awesome. And so Iron Man's grabbing it and he's gonna pull it up. Excuse me. And so he's like he's got to get it away, but doesn't want to dump it at sea. So here comes the U.S. agent. I said the captain. I forgot there was a name change. The U.S. agent, and Iron Man says, "You've been conspicuous by your absence for a while," and he says, "Not for a good reason, not without a good reason, Iron Man. But what the devil is that thing? It's wrecked half of L.A." And Iron Man says, "Well, not quite, but it has proven something of a problem. So far, my internal computers have turned up nothing on its nature or origins." And U.S. agent says, "Then why don't you just kill the thing? You must have power enough in that tin suit of yours." And he says, "Indeed I do." But he continues, "But that might be a trifle rash, don't you think? We've both read enough science fiction stories. I'm sure to know this might be a confused alien, even an extraterrestrial child." And love this different angle, just people that's pretty cool. "So I'll just deposit him in the shallows of shore." And so off he dumps him and use my repulsors to create a breakwater that will keep the splashing from flooding the whole beach. "Now, Agent, do you see any sign of Wonder Man?" And of course, we go on cue. Again, nice use of rubbles, nice art. And Wonder Man says, "Doesn't take a thinking machine to guess that creature came from this hole. Looks like it goes down back for a couple of miles. My best get guess my best bet is to backtrack the creature to its point of origin." And off panel, someone says, "Want some company, Wonder Man?" And it's the Human Torch, the original Human Torch, not the Fantastic Four Human Torch. And so Wonder Man asks him if he was up to it, because he was hurt with the UFOs. And Human Torch says he's fine now. So down they go, and we get some stuff about the previous stories. I do have a playlist. Feel free to check that out. And of course, when they get to the bottom, I don't know. Well, of course, they can see because of the fire, but there can't be that much oxygen down there. So they see all these creatures here, and the creatures attack them. And of course, it turns out that these are the Mole Man's creatures. So Wonder Man is wondering why they're attacking, and the Mole Man says, "Because I want them to." And so it says there a little bit east. And so we have one of the Quinjets here, and Hank Pym is checking on the Scarlet Witch, and the Wasp says, "How's she doing, Hank?" And he says, "Not too well. She's completely unresponsive again. It's for all the world as though her brain has just switched off." And the Wasp says, "Can't you bring her out of it? You did once before already." And Hank Pym says, "Yes, by telling her the Vision was in danger, but the Vision has elected to remain in New York. I don't think that kind of shock therapy should be repeated again." And the Wasp says, "But what can we do for her? We can't just..." And then she pauses and goes, "Oh my gosh, Hank, look." And she's looking out. And of course, we have a very Kirby looking creature here. Of course, John Byrne is a huge fan of Jack Kirby, and we have the Quinjet heading straight for it. And so they avoid it, but not completely. And we just with its foot destroys the Quinjet here and begins to fall. And Hank Pym says, "Jan, I'm going to use my power to shrink Wanda to Wasp size. Then you can fly her out. And Wasp says, not unless you're coming with us, lover. I'm not going to lose you again. I believe they were divorced during this time, but I could be wrong. And Hank Pym says, Jan, be reasonable. There's nothing to be gained in all of us getting killed. And suddenly they're like surprised by what's going on here. And Wasp asks what he did, and he's like, it wasn't me. Some kind of a magnetic force field grabbed us. And so we're going to see what's up in just a little bit. And so there's the creature. And so Hank is going to try to use his Pym particles on it. Love that silhouette, and then the Pym particles showing up in negative space. And he touches it and gets the creature and has shrunk it. So they you can see here who had slowed down the Quinjet. Now, during this time, Magneto, I say Magneto, not Magneto. It's magnet with an O, not magnet. So it's not a magnet, it's a magnet. So Magneto. Stanley just mispronounced it, and all everybody else just keeps mispronouncing it. But I digress. And so as they go along, Magneto is watching, and he says, yes, fly away now, Janet Van Dyne. Bring transportation. Your former husband will be safe in my care, as will my daughter. Now, I believe they retconned that she is no longer his daughter, but during this time, at least he believed that it was. So soon enough, you will learn the true objective behind the events you have seen unfold this day. But it does not suit me that you yet learn the true architect of this plan is Magneto, the master of magnetism. So, and of course, Loki is the one. Loki is the actual architect of everything that's been happening here, and so he's watching using his spells or his magic, and he goes, and so you think, mutant, for it is part of my scheme that you be so deceived. How else to bend how else to bend to my purpose the 6 greatest egos on earth, other than by causing each to believe he and he alone is the mastermind behind the intrigue, and all others, including myself, but slaves to his wishes. It is even amusing to play out for a while the role of lackey, and that's actually what he's called, lackey. But now it is time once more to look on the Avengers. So real quick, every title during these times had for 3 months this Acts of Vengeance. In the X-Men, Jim Lee was doing the Mandarin, and then we have the new Psylocke where she comes Japanese, and there's Acts of Vengeance in Spider-Man. There's Acts of Vengeance everywhere. So it was an event that didn't have its own book. It just kind of rolled in all the books, and all the books just gave you a little piece of the story here. So Wonder Man asked the Mole Man to explain himself, and he's like, hey, you're a Fantastic Four villain. Why are you in Los Angeles? And Mole Man's like, why you dare ask such a thing? You who led the assault on Monster Island? And so we're going to get a bit of a recap of that. And so he's saying Iron Man and Wonder Man and the Vision attacked him. And the Human Torch says, that's some kind of mistake. The Avengers have not attacked you, I swear. And he listens and he's like, "You're not Johnny Storm. What pitiful trick is this? Whatever it is, it shall not work." So, this was like an illusion of that was created by Loki. And so outside, you see Iron Man fighting the Giganto. Was it? So, all right. So the U.S. agent yells at Iron Man, implying that he should kill it. That's not what he says, but he just implies it. It says heading to the beach, and he says, "Hey, I know, but I don't want to do anything drastic and use some restraint." But the U.S. agent says, "Hey, I've been trained to act, and I am." And so he puts in position and uses the blast to stop him, thinking that he killed it. And he goes back, and you can see the creature covering his eyes, and he smacks him here. And so U.S. agent is falling here, and Iron Man catches him and says, "I won't say I told you so." And he's like, "Let's find a reasonable way to sort out this mess," as he carries him. And so, at the same time, in the tunnels here, Wonder Man has sort of dispatched the creatures here, and he says there's only one way to convince you the Avengers has nothing to do with the attack on Monster Isle. And of course, Mole Man's a bit of a coward, so he's like, "Keep back, keep back." And so, and he tells him, "My staff." And of course, Wonder Man finishes, "It's full of all kind of electric doohickeys and enough power to fry a small herd of elephants. I know, and I'm not going to do anything to stop you from using it on me." And of course, Human Torch says, "No, he'll kill you," but not really. Wonder Man doesn't. Wonder Man's immortal because he's made out of ionic power or something like that, so he cannot die. Again, feel free to go to that website, click on his stuff, and you can see all about Wonder Man and all his powers. But I believe he's made out of some kind of ionic energy. Anyway, so he says, "Go ahead and shoot me with your staff. It'll show you that we mean no harm." And so he does here. And of course, he gets up and he says, um, I didn't think he'd use the full power of his staff. "Now keep back. This is the only hand we have, and I'm gonna keep playing it." He does it and does it and does it, and just until he believes me, he keeps saying here. He's a bit of a pacifist. Um, and so Mole Man says, "Why should I believe you? Why should I doubt the evidence of my senses and believe it was not the Avengers who attacked me?" And Wonder Man says, because we had no reason to, no more than we had reasons to attack the UFOs, but somebody managed to fool them into thinking we had, just as somebody has obviously fooled you. Think about it, Mole. Would I really stand here and take that punishment if I wasn't speaking the truth? And he's like, "Well, maybe, maybe not. But if there's the least chance of what you say is true, perhaps I could withdraw to consider." The Mole Man is no one's dupe, so he uh, blows his whistle that only his creatures can see, and Giganto is heading away. So, uh, back underwater here. So, all right, and so Iron Man says, "I'm going after him. You can swim to shore from here." And so he drops him. And so Iron Man goes down and he says, "Already out of sight." Although it's easy enough to guess where he went. And so lets us know here 1 hour later. There is a news report about a Superpowers Registration Act, which actually does eventually happen in a Civil War many, many, many years later in real time, probably not in comic book time. But Hank Pym here is saying that there's too much going on for these to be isolated incidents, and that there is that um he's too paranoid to say that they're up against a consolidated effort. And so he's asked Captain America what he thinks. He says, "I agree." And so other people have been attacked, and it seems organized. And is this Quasar? And Quasar says Captain America is right. The others are being put through the ringer, but it almost seems like a smokescreen. The major loss has been on our side, with Avengers headquarters east destroyed and the West Coast mansion badly damaged. And so he says, agree, Quasar. I think we're left to one unavoidable conclusion. Someone is out to destroy the Avengers. And so it says here, Axe Avengers continues in all these titles here, and concludes next month in Avengers West Coast 55, The Breaking Strain. So, these, I will eventually get to the Avengers because I will be covering that run after I'm done with this run, and I mean the John Byrne run in Avengers, but it's going to be a while, and definitely I'll be covering the Iron Man run eventually. I'm not there yet on Iron Man, but anyway, Avengers West Coast number 54, written and drawn by John Byrne with Paul Ryan. Like and subscribe, and I do thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.